Alright, so now I have to make sure that both Finn and Flame Princess kind of exist in the same world and they're both the same size. I'm going to go out of edit mode, hit Control N. I'm going to do load. I'm going to grab Finn, and I can drag him out, go into edit mode, and I can just switch between these two, and I can kind of tell they're a little off axis from each other because I just started out from a primitive. I didn't align them to any sort of floor or anything. So with Finn showing, I'm going to go ahead and do a merge visible, and that'll just throw him all out into one subtool here, and I'm going to grab her and just do an append, and I'm just going to grab this merge Finn, move him up, and make sure he's selected. He's appended, so it'll be the last one on there. And I'm going to go out of perspective mode so I can kind of line up the bottom of his feet with the bottom of her dress, move him over, and I would say they are about right. Not too shabby. So I kind of lucked out there. I'm going to go into polyframe mode here, and you're going to see he still has polygroups for all his geos. So I'm going to hold down Control Shift, isolate his arm. His arms and his legs are still together. That's okay. All I want to do is just kind of mask this arm right here. He doesn't have X symmetry turned on. So now I'm going to Control Shift to bring everything back and tap, and then Control Tap to isolate or invert that. And I'm just going to kind of rotate this around. I'm just going to drag down his bone, his arm there, and just kind of rotate this around just a bit. Let's go rotate like so. W. And go into transparency mode if I want to kind of see through everything. Maybe rotate this back just a tad. And of course, I can always go in here with my move brush and just kind of move this stuff around. And then on Flame Princess here, I already went through and kind of rotated her arms down. I did have X symmetry turned on, but you can always turn that off. Grab half, go into transparency mode, you can kind of see what you're grabbing, invert that, and then you can just kind of rotate and move these things around because they're all just separate pieces. So feel free to do that. It's kind of made her arms go down a little bit more. And of course I can go through here and detail these hands if I wanted to, but for just a cake topper print, that's fine. I also just realized I forgot his cake topper feet. So her, I can probably just stick her right into the top of the cake and she'll be fine. If I wanted to give her a base to make her a little bit more stable, I can click this dress, hit Shift D, go into polyframe mode here, and let's say this last ring right here, and hover over this edge, do a poly group, poly loop, just do that, and then grab one of these faces, do a Q mesh, poly group all, and now I can just pull this out and kind of give her a little bit more of a stable base there. And then of course we'll do a crease by poly group and then hit D, and yeah, I think that'll work fine. If I want to kind of straighten these out, I can go into Control Shift and just kind of isolate these. And then I can Control drag the top of these, Control tap to invert that, hit W, and then just pull, anchor one point and then pull down. Same thing with this bottom piece, mask everything, invert that, grab an anchor point, and then just pull using move all straight up to that one point there. You could also use clip if you wanted to. And there we go. Now those are nice and flat. And now she's got a stable base, and then him, I'm going to go back to his file here. Turn everything on, so I'm going to turn the eyeballs off, turn the eyeball back on, everything turns on. Here's his little cake topper feet, Alt select those, go back into this file, do an append, grab the feet, and because I didn't really have to scale him, this is going to be easy. I'm just going to grab the feet, go out of X symmetry mode so I can move them over here, and there we go. Now these bases are getting awful close to each other, so I'm going to move him over a little bit. I'm going to grab him, Control E to merge down, W, kind of move him over a bit, move him up a bit. Okay, I think that'll work fine. I can always sand down their arms, but if I want to be extra careful, I can just take her hand here, big old move brush, and if your move brush ever doesn't get big enough, it's like it kind of gets stuck here, hold down Shift and turn off dynamic, and that'll make your brush really big. There's a lot more functionality to that dynamic than making your move brush bigger, but that's all I'll talk about for now. Okay. So now they kind of work together. Okay, they're both good size, and now I can go into KeyShot. And another thing I want to do in KeyShot is give her kind of a glow, but I don't necessarily want to make her actual materials emissive. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide Finn for now. So I'm going to tap his nameplate and then tap it again to turn his eyeball off, and then select something else. So now just she is showing. And now what I'm going to do is, I don't necessarily want to render that out. You know what? Why not? And now what I want to do is go in here to merge visible again. So I've got a version of her that is completely merged, and I'm going to go ahead and append her to this, and I'm going to grab her, hit Control D just to kind of smooth her out a little bit. And now what I want to do is go into solo mode, and I'm going to Dynamesh her together. So I'm going to turn off project, turn off blur, and I'm just going to make a resolution of like 256 and hit Dynamesh. No, I don't want to freeze subdivision levels. And give it a second. Now she's all Dynamesh together. She's going to have a bunch of polygroups. Just hit Control W. So now she's just one envelope mesh that I can now go into Polish by Features, Open Circle, and just tap that just to kind of smooth it out a bit. And then go out of solo mode. And now I'm going to go, you can go deformation, and that was where Polish by Features was. You can also do an inflate. I'm going to tap that once and hit 1, 1, 1, 1. I'm just going to slowly go up until everything is covered by this envelope here. Re-Dynamesh, maybe re-Polish by Features once. There we go. So now I have a piece of geometry I can assign an emissive or a light material to that'll cast a glow, but then I can, in KeyShot, make that not visible to the camera. So it'll kind of make her look like she's glowing, or maybe I can do a render pass where I can just overlay that later and make her look like she's glowing, and I can just pass that through and just make it not renderable to KeyShot. And another thing I probably want to do is just take these spikes off if I'm going to go into KeyShot, so I can just very quickly just hold down Alt and just get rid of those and then go render it so they stay on the same plane and there's not like a shadow plane way down here where his spikes are. So I can just throw this in the KeyShot. If I want to split him back up, what I would do is I'm going to shoot him down to the very bottom here, and then I'm just going to do a split to similar parts. And that way I can keep all of my polygroups here. So if he had separate polygroups here on the top and on his bevels, those still are maintained, but he does get split into parts, and his eyeballs and anything that's kind of similar, like his arms, are all going to be in the same group. His legs and his feet and his little socks here are all going to be in one subtool because they're similar. They have the same vert count. So that's useful. And then I can go through here and then hit D to do my dynamic preview. So when I take it into KeyShot, it's nice and smooth. And of course, if it's not smooth enough, I can always go into my dynamic preview properties and then just crank that smooth subdivision up however many I need to. But honestly, I think this is fine. This one needs to be creased. Just really quickly, I'm going to give it a crease tolerance of like 34, and that did the trick. There we go. He's nice and smooth. Very cool. So now that they're in the scene together, and she's got her glowy geometry, and I'm going to go ahead and take the bottom of his spikes off. Now they're ready to go and get rendered. Of course, by taking his spikes off, it made that not smooth. So what I'm going to do is under this dynamic, I'm going to hit apply to go ahead and apply that, and then I'm going to take those pieces off so it'll stay nice and smooth. That just basically applied those preview subdivisions to the actual mesh. So now, let's go ahead and smooth his eye in his mouth. There we go. Everything should be very smooth. And then same thing on her. I'm going to temporarily hide her light envelope. Make sure everything's smooth. Okay. Turn that back on, and now I'm ready to go into KeyShot. So I'm just going to go into render, external render, KeyShot, auto merge off, and then hit BPR and it'll load up KeyShot for me.